Hello, friends. If you are receiving Social Security retirement or disability benefits, and at some point you have opened the mailbox, pulled out an envelope with a government return address, and felt your stomach drop before you even opened it, this video was made specific. That feeling is not an overreaction. It is the right response to a real situation. Tens of thousands of people on fixed incomes are sitting with letters saying they owe money back, money they already spent, money they needed, money, and most of them have no idea that federal law gives them a specific right to push back. Here is the thing most people in this situation get wrong, and it is not their fault, because this rule works in two directions and nobody explains the second one. SSA can require you to repay an overpayment even when the error was even when their own calculations were wrong. The law says benefits are paid conditionally, and if the amount exceeded what you were entitled to, it must come back regardless of who caused the same law that requires repayment also requires SSA to consider forgiving the entire, not reducing it, forgiving it completely through a specific form, because SSA is not required to tell you it exists. There are two numbers coming up that matter more than anything else we cover today. So write both of them down. One is a deadline measured in business days. Miss it by a single day and your income can stop for potentially a full year. The other is a form number that most people on the receiving end of an overpayment notice have never encountered, but that can result in the entire debt being eliminated when the right conditions are properly. Quick context before we start. This video is made for adults receiving or disability benefits, anyone navigating an overpayment notice, a continuing disability review, or a change to their benefit situation. Everything here draws from the Social Security Administration. The Social Security Administration's own Office of Inspector General. And this is educational content only, not personalized legal, financial, and nothing here promises you will receive or keep any specific amount of money. Speak with a licensed attorney or certified benefits counselor who knows your specific. Before we go any further, have you or has anyone you know an overpayment notice, a review letter, a benefits? Drop it in the comments and tell me what happened. Because the question this video answers was the single most common one from everyone who watched the first thing applies specifically to anyone receiving Social Security disability benefit. The Social Security Administration announced a significant increase in continuing disability reviews, which is the process S. The Dean Bull times 17. All medical review processing has moved to a centralized federal office, and if you receive disability benefits and have not had a review in several years, the likelihood of a notice arriving this year is higher than it has been in a long time. Respond with complete, current medical documentation. Gaps in treatment can be read by the Social Security Administration as the second thing is the one that generates the most genuine surprise when people hear it. The Social Security Administration has a list of changes you are legally required to report. And for SSI recipients, the deadline is 10 days after the end of the month the change. The list includes getting married or divorced, moving, and freelance projects, selling things online, rideshare. If you receive SSI and move in with a family member who covers your rent or groceries, that is in-kind income under federal law and must be reported. Also on the list, traveling outside the country for more than 30 days. Starting to receive a pension from a job that did not pay into Social Security, and the death of anyone else on benefits on your account. Pause now and go through that full list against your own situation. And in the comments below, tell me whether one item on it surprised you. If SSA discovers an unreported change and look-back periods can extend for years, the agency calculates the overpayment from the date the change first occurred. And under the Social Security Administration's current policy, recovery can come from up to, for SSI recipients, a first missed reporting offense can bring a second brings 12 months, and a third brings 24 months. That is the documented penalty schedule under federal law. Report any unreported changes today and keep a confirmation number. because that documentation is your best protection if any dispute comes up later. If you receive an overpayment notice and the amount is more than you can repay all at once, SSA's own program guidelines allow you to request a monthly installment arrangement, smaller repayments over a longer period based on documented financial hardship. The request must be in writing with specific documentation of your total monthly income and a letter that shows the actual numbers and why standard withholding would leave you The fourth thing, this is the first number to write down. If disability benefits are terminated after a CDR and you disagree, you have the right to appeal. Most people know that. What most people do not know is the deadline that keeps income coming during the appeal. If you file a written appeal within 10 business days of the date on the termination notice, you may request that benefits continue at the same level while your case is reviewed. A hearing before an administrative law judge can take 6 months to a year or longer, and if you filed within 10 business days, your payments continue throughout. Write this down: 10 business days from the date on the termination notice. Miss that by 1 day and income stops. The honest trade-off. If continuation benefits are paid and the appeal is ultimately denied, SSA may ask you to repay what was received during that period. But for most people on disability, keeping income through a long hearing is, especially since a successful appeal requires no repayment at all. If you are on disability right now, did anyone tell you that deadline existed? Let me know in the comments. Before the final item, here is an example. This is an illustrative composite, not a verified specific case, but a pattern legal aid organizations encounter regularly. Ruth is 68 and spent 34 years in a school cafeteria job that did not pay into social. When she retired, she applied for SSI to supplement her fixed income. And 3 years later, a notice arrived, saying she owed $7,000. SSA's own calculation had failed to account for her pension offset from the beginning, an error that came entirely from the agency's own processing. Ruth did not. She agreed to 50% withholding and spent months with her income cut nearly. A legal aid counselor eventually told her a form existed and that filing it before withholding, she filed after the fact with documented income and expenses. And the overpayment was forgiven in full. And now, the fifth thing. The one that answers the question most people never get a straight answer to. Under federal law, specifically the Social Security Act and the Social Security Administration is legally required to consider forgiving an overpayment. Condition 1. The overpayment was not your fault. You provided accurate information. Had no reason to know the amount was incorrect. And the error came from the age. Condition 2. Repayment would cause financial hardship. Recovery would leave you unable to meet basic necessities. Or requiring repayment would be against equity and good conscience given your When both conditions apply, SSA is legally required to consider. Pause here. This is the second number. The form is the SSA 6. Write that down and file it before withholding begins. Because once withholding starts, your leverage drops. The moment a notice arrives, put something in writing stating you are requesting a waiver, and the completed form will follow. File a separate appeal on the calculation and an installment request for time if needed. All three can run simultaneously, and the one move that closes every option is here is where we stand. CDR reviews are increasing significantly. Respond with current documentation and keep your treatment records consistent. 10 business days from the termination notice date is the window to file and keep benefits. The life changes reporting requirement is a legal obligation most recipients have. An installment arrangement in writing with documented hardship is a real option under the SSA 632 is the waiver form. File it before withholding begins. Document both conditions. An SSA is legally required to 3. Log into your online Social Security account today and review your payment history. If anything looks inconsistent, document it before any notice arrives. If someone in your life is on Social Security disability and has not had a CDR, because the 10-day continuation window only helps if you know about it before you need it. 1. Before responding to any SSA notice involving a significant amount. Speak with a licensed attorney or certified benefits professional who can review your specific. These rules are real, but applying them to your individual situation requires. Think of one person in your life on Social Security who has never heard of the SSA, then tag them in the comments or send them this video directly. Because the difference between knowing this option exists and not knowing it is not. And in the comments below before today, had you ever heard of the SSA? Yes or no? Because I genuinely want to know. If go back to the 4-minute mark and listen through it one more time. There is a step sequence there that determines whether your income continues during a hearing. Next time, if your CDR appeal runs longer than 6 months, there is a separate set of rules about what can and cannot happen to your benefit, and at least one surprises nearly everyone hearing it for the first time.